And the American people do have other concerns that we ought to be thinking about and talking about.
Respectfully,
and
Madam Secretary, I think...
Well, let me finish.
Condoleezza Rice, the former Secretary of State, walked into the lion's den. And let me tell you, Sunny Hostin did not see this one coming. From discussions about January 6th to education and race relations, Condi shut it down with class, facts, and a level of poise that left Sunny visibly rattled. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up because today, we're diving into one of the most heated exchanges ever to grace The View. But before we get into the fireworks, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more bold commentary and viral takedowns. Trust me, you don't want to miss this one. Did you just subscribe? Perfect. Let's get started.
Well, let me be very clear. I said at the time, January 6th was wrong. I called it an assault on law and order and an assault on our democratic processes. So full stop, it was wrong. Law enforcement will determine what happened there, and those who violated the law ought to be punished. Now, I think what Senator McConnell may be referencing is, yes, it's time to move on in a lot of ways. I'm one who believes that the American people are now concerned about their what we call kitchen table issues, the price of gasoline, inflation. We ought to move on to the next generation, move ahead and deal with the American people's issues.
It's really politically expedient for Mitch McConnell to say, let's move on, let's move on. The problem is that past will become prologue if we don't find out exactly what happened January 6th.
And we will.
So it's not time now.
We will find out.
We must find out before moving on.
We will find out. But I'm going to tell you, I live in California, not Washington, D.C. And the American people do have other concerns that we ought to be thinking about and talking about.
Respectfully, Madam Secretary, I think...
Well, let me finish now, Sunny. I also know that as a government and as a country, we've got to be concerned about the things that are making life hard for Americans and hard for American families. First of all, parents ought to be involved in their children's education. Their children are in school 7 hours. That's a very formative period.
The conversation began with Sunny Hostin trying to steer the discussion toward January 6th, clearly hoping to corner Condoleezza Rice on her stance. But Condi was ready. She firmly stated that January 6th was an assault on law and order and democracy, making it clear she doesn't condone the events of that day. However, she quickly pivoted to what she believes truly matters to the American people: the skyrocketing gas prices, inflation, and everyday issues affecting families across the country. Sunny wasn't having it. She interrupted Condi, claiming that the past will become prologue if we don't address it now. But Condi wasn't fazed. She calmly responded, pointing out how out of touch this perspective is. The American people aren't worrying about past becoming prologue, Condi said. They're worried about their past due bills. Boom. Talk about a mic drop moment. You could feel the tension rise as Sunny struggled to redirect the narrative. But Condi wasn't about to let her derail the conversation.
Children's education. Their children are in school 7 hours. That's a very formative period. And I think parents ought to have a say. We used to have parent-teacher conferences. We used to have PTAs. There are lots of ways for parents to be involved, and they should be. My parents never thought I was going to grow up in a world without prejudice, but they also told me that's somebody else's problem, not yours. You're going to overcome it, and you are going to be anything you want to be. And that's the message that I think we ought to be sending to kids. One of the worries that I have about the way that we're talking about race is that it either seems so big that somehow white people now have to feel guilty for everything that happened in the past. I don't think that's very productive. Or black people have to feel disempowered by race. I would like black kids to be completely empowered, to know that they are beautiful in their blackness, but in order to do that, I don't have to make white kids feel bad for being white. It goes back to how we teach the history.
That's what I'm saying.
We teach the good and we teach the bad of history.
Yeah,
but what we don't do is make 7- and 10-year-olds feel that they are somehow bad people because of the color of their skin. We've been through that.
Yes.
And we don't need to do that again.
People who will say it feels worse now when we're talking about race, or it just feels like a divisive environment.
It sure doesn't feel worse than when I grew up in Jim Crow, Alabama. Okay, so let's drop this notion that we're worse at race relations today than we were in the past. Really? That means we've made no progress.
Next, the discussion shifted to education. And this is where Condi truly shined. She emphasized the importance of parental involvement in schools, recalling how parents used to actively participate in PTAs and teacher conferences. Parents should absolutely have a say in their children's education, she declared. A statement that visibly irked Sunny and her co-hosts. Sunny tried to counter by suggesting that Condi's stance might oversimplify the complexities of today's educational challenges. But Condi wasn't backing down. She highlighted how divisive narratives around race in schools are doing more harm than good, especially for young children. And then came the line that left the table stunned. "I would like black kids to be completely empowered to know they are beautiful in their blackness. But to do that, I don't have to make white kids feel bad for being white." Sunny's reaction? Priceless. She was clearly caught off guard, shifting uncomfortably in her seat as Condi continued to make her case with facts and logic. The topic of race relations brought even more fireworks. Sunny and the other hosts pushed the narrative that race relations today are worse than ever. But Condi wasn't having it. She reminded them, and the audience, of her own experiences growing up in Jim Crow, Alabama. "Let's drop this notion that we're worse off today," Condi said. "That implies we've made no progress, and that's simply not true." Sunny's facial expressions during this segment were a sight to behold. You could tell she wanted to argue, but Condi's lived experiences and factual approach left her with little room to maneuver. This wasn't just a conversation. It was a reality check. Condi's perspective resonated with viewers at home, as she reminded everyone that while there's still work to be done, progress has undoubtedly been made. The breaking point came when Condi calmly stated that the American people are tired of being told what to think. "We need empathy, not division," she said, addressing both the panel and the audience. Sunny, clearly frustrated, interrupted yet again, raising her voice to make her point. But Condi wasn't rattled. She maintained her composure, reiterating that leaders should focus on what truly matters to Americans: kitchen table issues like inflation, the border crisis, and the cost of living. The audience's applause was deafening, and you could see Sunny's frustration boil over. Whoopi Goldberg, sensing the tension, quickly tried to change the subject, but the damage was done. Sunny's attempts to dominate the conversation had backfired spectacularly, and Condi's calm, measured responses had won the day. What a moment! Condoleezza Rice didn't just hold her own. She exposed the glaring disconnect between the View's hosts and the concerns of everyday Americans. From education to race relations, she brought a level of clarity and insight that left Sunny Hostin visibly shaken. But now, it's your turn. What do you think? Did Condi deliver a much-needed reality check? Or do you think Sunny had valid points? Let us know in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fiery debates, epic takedowns, and unfiltered commentary.